Gavrilo Princip. The name echoes through history. He is a figure forever linked to the cataclysm of the First World War. On a sunny June day in 1914, this young man fired two shots that would change the course of the 20th century. Princip was no military strategist. He was not a king or a general. He was a 19-year-old student, driven by a potent mix of nationalism, idealism, and desperation. His target? Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. His weapon? A pistol smuggled across borders and fueled by a desire for a unified Serbian nation. This is the story of Gavrilo Princip, the man who lit the fuse that ignited the Great War. Gavrilo Princip was born in 1894 in a small village in Bosnia-Herzegovina. This region, a melting pot of ethnicities and religions, was under the rule of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Princip's early life was marked by poverty and hardship. He was one of 9 children, 6 of whom died in infancy. This harsh reality instilled in him a deep sense of injustice. As a young man, Princip became swept up in the rising tide of Serbian nationalism. Many Serbs yearned for freedom from Austro-Hungarian rule and sought unity with the independent Kingdom of Serbia. Princip saw the Austro-Hungarian Empire as an oppressive force. He dreamed of a South Slav state, a unified homeland for Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. This dream fueled his anger and his desire for action. Princip's fervent nationalism led him to the Black Hand. This secret society, operating within the Serbian military, was dedicated to liberating Serbian territories from Austro-Hungarian control. They were prepared to use violence to achieve their goals. In 1914, the Black Hand hatched a daring and dangerous plan to assassinate Archduke Franz Ferdinand during his visit to Sarajevo. Princip, along with a group of young Bosnian Serbs, was recruited for the mission. The plan was risky and relied on a degree of luck, but for Princip and his co-conspirators, the potential rewards outweighed the dangers. They saw Ferdinand as a symbol of oppression, and his death, they believed, would spark a revolution. On June 28, 1914, under a bright summer sky, Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie arrived in Sarajevo. The city was on edge, security was tight, but the atmosphere was festive. The Archduke's motorcade made its way through the crowded streets. The Black Hand conspirators were in position, ready to strike. The first attempt, a bomb thrown at the Archduke's car, failed. Ferdinand, shaken but unharmed, continued his planned itinerary. However, fate intervened. A wrong turn by the driver placed the Archduke's open car directly in front of Gavrilo Princip. Seizing the opportunity, Princip stepped forward and fired 2 shots. One bullet struck Franz Ferdinand in the neck, the other fatally wounded Sophie. The Archduke and his wife, slumped in their seats, died shortly after. News of the assassination spread like wildfire across Europe. The Austro-Hungarian Empire was outraged. Serbia, accused of complicity in the plot, became the focus of Vienna's fury. The assassination set off a chain reaction of diplomatic failures. Austria-Hungary, determined to crush Serbia, issued a harsh ultimatum backed by its powerful ally, Germany. Russia, bound by treaty to protect Serbia, began to mobilize its vast army. Germany, fearing a two-front war, declared war on Russia and then on Russia's ally, France. Within weeks of Princip's fateful shots, Europe was at war. The intricate web of alliances, decades of simmering tensions, and the assassination of an archduke had plunged the continent into the abyss. The month following the assassination, later known as the July Crisis, was a whirlwind of diplomatic activity. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand set off a chain reaction among the great powers of Europe, each maneuvering to protect their interests and assert their dominance. Desperate attempts to avert war were made, but the situation escalated rapidly. Diplomats exchanged urgent telegrams and tense meetings were held in an effort to find a peaceful resolution, but mistrust and long-standing rivalries made compromise impossible. Austria-Hungary, convinced of Serbia's role in the assassination, saw an opportunity to crush its troublesome neighbor. They issued an ultimatum to Serbia, demanding harsh terms that were almost impossible to accept. Germany, eager to assert its dominance in Europe, gave Austria-Hungary a blank check of support. This unconditional backing emboldened Austria-Hungary to take a hard line against Serbia, knowing they had a powerful ally. Russia, determined to defend its Serbian ally, mobilized its forces. The Tsar saw the conflict as a chance to assert Russian influence in the Balkans and protect Slavic interests. This, in turn, prompted Germany to declare war on Russia. The German leadership, fearing encirclement by hostile powers, decided to strike first. France, bound by treaty to Russia, mobilized its troops, leading to a German declaration of war against France. The French government, honoring its alliance, prepared for a conflict that would soon engulf the continent. The intricate system of alliances that had been designed to prevent war had instead accelerated its arrival. These alliances, meant to create a balance of power, now pulled each nation into the growing conflict. Within a month of Gavrilo Princip's shots in Sarajevo, Europe was engulfed in a conflict that would claim millions of lives and reshape the world. The war, which many believed would be over by Christmas, dragged on for 4 brutal years, leaving a lasting legacy of devastation and change. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand immediately thrust Gavrilo Princip into the global spotlight, making him a pivotal figure in the annals of history. His actions sparked a war that would consume Europe, leaving millions dead and empires shattered. The assassination set off a chain reaction of alliances and enmities, leading to unprecedented destruction. But was he a terrorist or a freedom fighter? This question has sparked intense debate among historians and scholars for over a century. Princip saw himself as a liberator, fighting for the freedom of his people from the yoke of Austro-Hungarian rule. He believed that his drastic actions were necessary to awaken the world to the plight of his people. He believed passionately in the unification of the South Slavs and was willing to die for his cause. His writings and speeches reflect a deep commitment to his vision of a united and free South Slavic nation. To his supporters, he was a hero, a symbol of resistance against oppression. They saw him as a martyr who sacrificed his life for the greater good of his people. To his detractors, he was a dangerous radical, a terrorist whose actions had plunged the world into chaos. They argue that his methods were extreme and unjustifiable, causing unnecessary suffering. The debate over Princip's legacy continues to this day. Modern historians still grapple with the implications of his actions and their impact on world history. Was he a misguided youth, a product of his time, or a cold-blooded assassin? His youth and the turbulent era he lived in complicate the narrative, making it difficult to categorize him definitively. The answer, like most historical judgments, is complex and nuanced. It requires a deep understanding of the historical context, motivations, and consequences of his actions. Following the assassination, Princip and his co-conspirators were quickly apprehended. Their trial, held in Sarajevo in late 1914, became a media sensation. Austria-Hungary, eager to exact revenge, portrayed Princip as a dangerous revolutionary, a tool of Serbian aggression. Princip, though defiant, was unable to escape the consequences of his actions. He was found guilty and sentenced to 20 years in prison. However, due to his young age, Princip avoided the death penalty. He was sent to the notorious Theresienstadt fortress, a grim and isolated prison in what is now the Czech Republic. Life in Theresienstadt was harsh and unforgiving. Princip, already in poor health, endured solitary confinement, meager rations, and the constant cold of his cell. He was denied visitors, books, and any contact with the outside world. His only solace was writing poetry and reflecting on his actions. Princip's health continued to deteriorate in prison. He suffered from tuberculosis, exacerbated by the harsh conditions of his confinement. In 1918, after 4 years in prison, Gavrilo Princip died in his cell. He was only 24 years old. Even in death, Princip remained a prisoner. He was buried in an unmarked grave within the prison grounds, his resting place hidden from the world. Section 10. History's Prisoner. The Legacy of Gavrilo Princip. Gavrilo Princip died a prisoner, but his legacy lived on. The war he ignited raged on for another 4 years, leaving millions dead and Europe in ruins. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, the target of Princip's rage, crumbled into history. New nations emerged from the ashes of war, redrawing the map of Europe. Princip's dream of a unified South Slav state was partially realized with the creation of Yugoslavia. However, the legacy of ethnic and nationalist tensions so potent in Princip's time continued to plague the region. Section 11. The enduring debate, Gavrilo Princip's place in history. Even today, Gavrilo Princip remains a controversial figure. His actions on that fateful day in Sarajevo have sparked endless discussions and debates among historians, scholars, and the general public alike. Was he a hero who struck a blow against oppression, or a terrorist who unleashed unimaginable suffering upon the world? This question continues to divide opinions and fuel passionate arguments. In Serbia, he is often regarded as a national hero, a symbol of the struggle for Serbian unity. His legacy is celebrated, and his actions are seen as a pivotal moment in the fight for national sovereignty. Monuments stand in his honor, and streets bear his name. These tributes reflect the deep respect and admiration many Serbians have for him. However, in much of the world, he is seen as a tragic figure, a young man whose actions had catastrophic consequences. The assassination he carried out is often viewed as the spark that ignited the devastating conflict of World War I. His name is synonymous with assassination and the outbreak of the First World War. The events that followed his actions led to unprecedented destruction and loss of life. The debate over his legacy is likely to continue. Scholars and historians will keep examining the complexities of his motivations and the far-reaching impacts of his actions. He serves as a stark reminder of how individual actions, driven by ideology and fueled by hatred, can have unintended and devastating consequences. His story is a powerful example of how a single moment in history can alter the course of the world forever. Section 12. The world Gavrilo Princip created, a century of conflict. The world Gavrilo Princip left behind was forever altered. The First World War, sparked by his actions, destroyed empires, reshaped national boundaries, and ushered in an era of unprecedented violence. The war's horrors, from the trenches of the Western Front to the battlefields of the East, cast a long shadow over the 20th century. It led to the rise of totalitarian regimes, the Second World War, and the Cold War. Princip's assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand serves as a chilling reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked nationalism and hatred. Section 13. Conclusion. Reflecting on Gavrilo Princip and the Great War. Gavrilo Princip's story is a tragedy. It is a story of a young man consumed by nationalist fervor, willing to sacrifice his life and unleash chaos upon the world in pursuit of his ideals. His actions, while motivated by a desire for freedom and unity, had disastrous consequences, leading to a global conflict that claimed millions of lives and left an indelible scar on human history. As we reflect on the legacy of Gavrilo Princip, we are reminded of the importance of understanding the past, of recognizing the dangers of extremism, and of striving for peace and understanding in a world still grappling with the consequences of his fateful act.